Okay. Um okay. We have talked about floats, total float, free float, interfering float, and independent float, and critical path method. Now we will talk about pot. Pot is also a scheduling technique. CHE, scheduling technique. Uh, POT, the full form of POT is Program Evaluation and Review Technique. This is used for R&D. R&D means research and development. This is a probabilistic because we don't already know the time duration, the activity details, the resource it consumes, and the time it takes. So it is a very probabilistic approach. So what we do in this part is we take an activity, we estimate the total. We already knew the date for in case of CPM, but in case of pod, we estimate the very pessimistic time, very optimistic time. We estimate the very most likely time, and then we calculate expected time, t expected time, and this expected time is uh, used for each activity duration, and we perform operation as in CPM. Okay, what is expected time? The expected time is a calculation from the calculation is optimistic time, pessimistic time plus 4 times most likely time by 6. In this way, we can calculate the expected time duration, which is used to give the duration on an activity which we don't know details about. So there are variabilities in the activity of this in the activity duration. There are variability in activity duration, and we have the standard deviation of activity, which is pessimistic minus optimistic by 6. This is the standard deviation of each activity. Also, sigma square uh, is the variance. Sigma is standard deviation, of course. Mm, okay. Okay, this is all about pot. I think other things are same as in CPM or critical path method. We will talk about project scheduling with limited resources and resource allocations, other things. Okay, so what if we have done the initial critical path analysis scheduling, and we have resource limitation. So what is resource? Of course, we know that resources 5 men, money, machines, methods, or materials. They This resource scarcity usually cause delay. So this delay uh, may occur. What are the types of uh, discrepancies or like delay types? Is delay is a kind of problem that arises in a network or in a scheduled task. We can have like our we don't get the material supply as expected, so our project is delayed for 1 or 2 days. The start delay. Other things are our non-critical activity can be converted into critical due to other uh, constraints. Suppose there are two paths in a network diagram from 1 to 2. One is 9 days, other is 7 days. If due to any problem, additional 3 days is added to any activity, it will increase the whole timing and convert it into the 10 days project. Initially, it was planned for 9 days, but now it is become the 10 days project, and our critical non-critical activities along this line will be critical. So this is the constant development. Other is resource problem, resource allocation problem. Allocation problem. What happens is this activity and this activity, which needs to be done parallelly, needs the same resources. This is the resource allocation problem. Either we shift these activities forward or these activities backward, or we shift this or this. Depends on which is critical, which we should not touch, and this is known as the concept of resource allocation. So, what happens in resource allocation is the peak resource uses. We list the resources. Yeah. So peak resource uses in suppose this is a day 5. Day 5 is 7. This is the, for example, 7 man hours. We have only 6 people. This activity and this activity, this is a network, this is a long chain. This is just activity that I picked. Okay, I think you guys are perceiving this thing. uh, this but we this needs 3 men, 4 men, and this needs 3 men. We only have 6 men on board. Okay, so we either shift, uh, either keep the 4 men here and shift 3 days there. Okay, so it depends on what is a critical time, what is a critical activity. If this is a critical activity, 4 days is a critical activities, we can shift 3 days if it doesn't makes the path, other path critical activity. In our case, it makes other path critical activities, so we cannot shift uh, the activity. There are other kinds of constraints also, like if it can, this can be replaced using the preceding activity or succeeding activity. So if this is possible, we can do that also. So this is how resource scheduling and allocation is done. The very concept is there. So what is resource smoothing? There is a concept of resource smoothing and resource leveling. Okay, we will study that. Resource leveling and resource smoothing. Resource leveling is nothing but it reduce the peak resource requirement. Peak requirement. Okay, uh, this is known as reducing resource leveling. What is resource smoothing? If the critical activity is shifted during this resource reallocation process, this is known as resource smoothing. Like uh, in our case, if 3 days and 4 days hours take same days, like in our previous case, if this is a very if this shift is not permissible, and this shift will cause critical activity, cause delay or addition of days in the critical activity. So this will be resource smoothing if this shift causes critical activity shift. Okay, the second part we will study about the monitoring, evaluation, and control. This is a very basic and very simple concept. What is monitoring? What is evaluation? And what is control? Project monitoring, project evaluation, project control. What is project monitoring? It is uh, mm, to check performance. Monitoring is to check performance, whether the project goes on the guided direction or not, pre-guided direction or intended direction. This is monitoring. If this goes out of the intended direction, uh, then we should reschedule, reallocate the resources like we have done, rebudget, anything. So monitoring is essential. So what is evaluation? Evaluation is judging the uh, It is a judging of evaluation is we compare two things through monitoring. We get the data. We already have the intended direction according to our scheduling or our plan, project plan, and we compare those, and we come to the conclusion, and this process known as evaluation of the project. This is just a judging process in terms of sustainability, impact, relevance, quality, other things. This evaluation can be routine or special. Like we evaluate turbine half a month, half a year, two times a year, and this is known as routine evaluation. If there is a problem, it will cause a special evaluation to be done. Why it is done? Why the evaluation is done? It is to find the to check for the fund use, accomplishment of the scope. We check for the scope improvement of the project etc. So what is control? Control is if there is a discrepancies between the planned and the uh, actual project, we will do some task to keep the project in track, to keep project in track, on track. There are different types of control types: pre-control, go no go control, post control, but I don't think that are they are necessary. We can control different tasks, different kinds of elements on project. Like we can control elements, elements sorry elements, quality, quality control, cost control, and time control. If we do these kinds of controlling projects. Okay, thank you guys for adhering, staying up to this point. I hope it helps.